Hello, it's Ashton Lewis.
And I'm Daphne Lynn.
And you are listening to the
NDE World Podcast.
Welcome to the NDE World Podcast. I am your host, Ashton Lewis, and my lovely hostess, Miss Daphne Lynn. Hello, Miss Daphne Lynn, and how are you today?
Hello, and I'm doing very well. Thank you. I am so excited. We have a guest on today.
Yes,
and
awesome.
I'm so looking forward to our interview with her and just hearing what all she has to share with us. You know, that visions and thoughts from the other side and just lessons she learned. I'm really looking forward to our interview with Miss Amy Jamison.
Right, okay, very good. There you go, Miss Amy Jamison, and she's actually the author of a book, The Visions from Above, My Journey, My Destiny. And this, we had the privilege of being able to have some of her time from her schedule to do a podcast with us. And let's do it again. What is it? Do an
Episode. You said podcast.
I get caught now. Take my time.
Yeah.
Miss Amy took a moment out of her schedule to share some of her experiences with us on the actual episode, and we want to go ahead and share that with you guys. And don't forget to go ahead and visit the actual website. By the way, it's NDE.world for more information on who we are and what we do and things like that. And tons of podcasts. I know we've got like over 100 episodes right now on all types of different subjects, you know, and the realm of spirituality and things like that, near-death experiences and, you know, the supernatural and all that really cool stuff. So without further ado, Daphne, I'm so excited about sharing this experience with Miss Amy with the listeners. And do you have any comments or anything you want to say before we get started? Because this is like, she is such a wonderful soul. I'm so excited about sharing this with everyone.
I'm really looking forward to it. Let's jump in. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, guys. All right, and we are rolling. Before we begin, Miss Amy, let me, on behalf of the NDE World Podcast, just thank you for taking your time out of your schedule and really just sharing your time with us and the listeners and things like that. So I want to just thank you so much for giving us that time.
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Amy, for coming on our podcast here at NDE World. We really appreciate you, and we love what you're doing. You have a book out there called Visions from Above that you wrote a few years ago, correct?
That's correct. Yes, it is about my near-death experience in 1976 at the age of 23 and 40-some-odd years of events that I saw in the future before they occurred.
Wow. So you have a lot of story to tell then, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. So why don't we begin by just telling us a little bit about your experience with your NDE?
Okay, well, I grew up one of 5 children in Galveston, Texas, and we were raised strict Irish Catholic. We went through all the catechism classes up until and through 10th grade of high school. I always believed in angels, Jesus, and God. I had a very difficult time way back then when we first started the catechism classes. I didn't understand, well, what does it mean by Father, Son, and Holy Ghost? I couldn't understand what 3 people in one actually meant until I had my near-death experience. And then the other thing I had problem with was, you know, we were taught that Jesus died for everyone. So for everyone means every single person on earth, whether they've done anything bad or not. I just believe that the ones who have done some really terrible things, like killing people or rapes and things like that, that they go into a different level of heaven. But we all go to heaven, because he didn't say, oh, hey, I died for just you, and the rest of you are going to hell. I believe that our choices we make on earth are our hell, or can be, based on what we decide and what we do with our lives. But I also believe that there are different levels of heaven and that we all go to heaven. So like maybe your hell would be, oh, you come back as a worm in the earth and all you see is darkness constantly. you're moving around in the dark constantly. That would be a level of heaven to me. That's just my own personal opinion. But I also believed in the hell part as like a fiery hell. So I'll say something about that in my near-death experience here. I'll give you some enlightenment on what my feelings are with that.
Yes,
okay,
we love
so back in 1976, when my near-death experience occurred, I was working as a dental assistant, and it was chairside, and I would always be standing up with gloves and mask on. Well, for a 2-week period, I had a horrible cough and cold, and I just thought it was a bad cough and cold. It was so bad, even though I was taking antihistamines and throat lozenges, that I would turn around and have to cough constantly. So after 2 weeks, driving home from work, I felt like a heaviness in my left arm, and I didn't know what was happening. It was getting a little harder to breathe. So I made it home, and I actually just blew it off in my mind and said, okay, I did laundry, I did the dishes, I did house cleaning, and then I sat down on the couch, and at that time I was a smoker, so I was smoking a cigarette. All of a sudden, I couldn't really smoke the cigarette anymore because I started coughing and choking trying to breathe. So I was married, and I turned to my spouse, and I said, I need you to please call me an ambulance or take me to the hospital emergency room. He goes, no, you're a hypochondriac. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just exaggerating. So that kept on for about, 15 minutes with that conversation. I would keep asking, please call me an ambulance or please take me to the hospital. And my answer was the same. No, you're a hypochondriac. You're just exaggerating. So I got up and I called the local emergency room, and I got the doctor on call, and he said, are you there is anybody there with you? I said, yes, my husband's here. He goes, okay, put him on the phone. So I put him on the phone. His eyes got real big, and then he slammed the receiver down, and I said, what did he say? He said, well, that doctor said that he could tell from speaking to you that you were choking and having a very difficult time breathing. And he told me that if you die on the way to the hospital or in treatment in the hospital, that I would be totally held responsible because I wasn't taking you to the emergency room. I said, great, let's go. So we went. And they did chest x-ray and listened to my lungs and said, well, I have to tell you that you have pleurisy, which is fluid in the lungs, and your lung has collapsed, and we need to do an immediate chest tube, the insertion of the chest tube. So they got me ready for that, and they took me in the operating room, and they started, and they said, well, we can numb the outside of your skin, but you're totally going to feel the tube going through your bones and through your rib cage. And I went, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so and he says, try not to move. Well, of course, the first thing I did when they started with that chest tube was I did move a little. So I got a couple of little scars in one spot because they had to start over. Mm-hmm. But once the chest tube started going into me, all of a sudden I saw nothing but total blackness. There was nothing. I couldn't see anything, and I didn't know what was happening. I wasn't scared per se, but I was like, well, I don't know where I'm at here and what's going on. And then I'm looking around in my mind, and at the bottom of my feet, I see like a tiny little white speck of a light. So this is my version of it to me. It felt as if I was my own same person in a miniature form, traveling from my head down through my feet and going out towards my feet. When I got to about the heart level, and this part I could never explain, but this is the only way I know to explain it to you. When I got up to my heart level inside this spinning tunnel that I was in, I saw a 6 to 7 foot man, kind of dressed like a black mummy or black tape like a mummy, reaching his arms out trying to get me. Well, I steered around him and he didn't get me, and I could not explain that for a while, what the heck that was or what was going on. But I went out the light at my feet. Once I got out of my feet, I am my same person and form, but I'm in the operating room, and I look down and I see my body on the table, and I look at it and I go, oh, I'm there. And then I look at myself and I'm like, oh, well, I'm here too. And myself, when I looked at myself at that point, I was like a ghostly vaporized version of myself, I would say. Mm-hmm. So I also heard and saw everything that was going on in that room. There were 2 nurses whispering to each other, and they go, oh, it's such a shame. She's so young and pretty for her to die. And then the doctor's calling the time of death. And he says the time of death. And then I realize, okay, I'm dead, but I'm very much alive still. So I look around the room and my husband's in the corner crying hysterically, of course, not because he loved me or missed me, but because he's going to jail. But what I must say that is the best part of that scenario right there is that you are not attached to any negativity, trauma, drama, hurt, pain, or regret. So once your soul exits your physical body, you just have extreme bliss, happiness, and you don't care. It's like I look at him and I go, oh, I love you. And then I look at other people in the room and I go, oh, okay, that's interesting. I love you guys too. And then I turn around, and when I turn around, I'm looking at myself kind of standing like to me on a cloud a few feet off the ground in what I would call my heaven. So I look to my left and I see a young girl with long blonde hair, probably about 8 years old, and she had big wings on her back and a white robe. And then on her right, hanging onto her little white robe, was a little baby angel in a diaper with kind of reddish curly hair and baby wings on. He's just laughing and flying around and laughing and pulling on her. And then I turn my head to the far right, and when I look on the far right, I see 3 relatives who are deceased. Probably they look to me like they're in their 40s, 50s, something like that, but they died in their 60s or much later. But I still recognize them, and they're welcoming me. It's like I walk or float towards them. I don't know how I'm moving, but I'm just telling you how I feel I'm doing. And then I give them hugs and they say our hellos. I'm so happy to see them. And there's a golden light beyond them, like a very golden light. I try to go to that light, and all of a sudden it's like someone pulled on me and pushed me right to the center of my intention. And in front of me was my version of Jesus with the long brown hair, the white robe, brown sandals. He had the most beautiful, beautiful crystal blue eyes. And he starts talking to me, but not moving his lips. And I'm talking to him, but I'm not moving my lips. It's like mind to mind. Mm-hmm. And he says, you're here too early. It is not your time. And then he raises his right hand and he says, you have to go back. The minute he drops his right hand, I am back in my body blowing on the sheet, because there's a sheet over me, and the priest has given me my rights. And he sees me blow on the sheet, and he pulls down the sheet. He says, my child, you are back. You've had an experience. Would you tell me about it? I said, sure, but I'm really mad. And he goes, well, why are you so mad? I go, because I loved it where I was. I wanted to stay there, but Jesus told me I had to come back. So then I told him what I'm just telling you about what I experienced. And then I was just like normal again, back to where I was before, but feeling different this time around because I didn't feel so religious as I did before, but more spiritual with my beliefs. And the first 5 years I was back, I had to deal with a dark entity, which to me was that mummy that was in the tunnel that I saw. And so I was married to a different person at that time within that 5 years, and we would be sleeping at night, and all of a sudden he would wake up several times in the night and he would say, quit pulling on my feet. And I go, I'm not pulling on your feet. You're dreaming. You're having a nightmare. And he would do it 3 or 4 times in the night for a few days in a row. And I didn't know anything to believe except he was having nightmares. So then he went out the next day out into the property that we were on, way out doing the landscaping, and I was there by myself. But I was really tired, so I decided to take a nap. When I laid down to take a nap, I'm just about to fall asleep, and I feel a pair of hands crossing my legs at the bottom of my feet and pulled me from the head of the bed off the end of the bed real fast. I'm like, what the heck? So I get up, I stand up, I look around. There's no one there. I see no one. This same entity, I'll call it, dark entity, tried a few things with me different nights where it was running its hands up my legs to a special area there, and kind of scary, you know. Mm-hmm. At that time I was still negative a lot, and you know, saying and doing things with negativity, which is what the spirit's attached to. So
the lower vibrations.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
The lower vibrations.
Yes, the lower vibration. And so the next night, all I knew is that this entity came this time. It's like hovering over my body. It looks like a ghostly form of a dark cloak person, but all black. And I could feel it like sucking my air out of my body. So my husband's next to me, and he saw it too. I said, do you see this? Do you see this? And I was telling him, he goes, I see it. It looks like a I don't know what he called it, a circumbus or something like that, something, I don't know. And he says it's trying to get your energy because you're heavenly positive energy now, and it wants to get your energy. I go, well, it is trying to suck my air out and get in my body. So we held hands and yelled and prayed it away and told it was not allowed in there, in the home at all, and that it had to leave and go to heaven, go to Jesus. After that, it left. At that time, my daughter and granddaughter lived in the home with us, but she wasn't there at that time. She was married and in her own home. And what I didn't know at that time was that the entity really, it left me, but it didn't leave the family. Whoever's in the home, when you get a dark spirit attachment like that, it goes from you to them. If they have any negativity, trauma, drama, hurt, or pain, it attaches to that. So it went to her and did things to her, like pulling her up on the wall and putting its hands around her neck, trying to choke her, and she's kicking on the wall before it dropped her. And so they had to do blessings and sagings and clearing of the home to get rid of that same entity, which eventually that did happen. But I had 5 years of that. Then, after 5 years of that, it was great, but I started seeing and feeling things happen before they were going to happen. They weren't good things. They were kidnappings, stabbings, flights being delayed, almost thinking about crashing, and just different bad things like that. I didn't know what was going on. It was like nightmares to me that I would have every single night for a while. And finally, I just decided, okay, I'm going to tell whoever I see in that dream, I call them dreams, they were really visions. I'm going to tell them what I saw and what's going to happen, which I did. And of course got called crazy, you're nuts, you're crazy, no one knows that but God, who do you think you are? That's not going to happen. And then I would see it like a movie trailer, like beginning, middle, and an end. I wouldn't see it exactly as it happened, but I saw it as a movie trailer. And once I told the person, it would happen within anywhere from right away to 2 weeks to 2 months. I wasn't told a timeline or what, any of that. But because I saw them okay in the end, once I told them they were okay in the end, but those things did happen, like stabbings, nightmares, horrible nightmares. Anyway, I learned over time that I was a messenger being like, I was supposed to tell what I saw. It was not my job to convince them that what I was saying was truth. I knew it was truth. But, before this all happened to me, I used to call all psychics and mediums crazy. And once this happened to me, I couldn't do that anymore because I'm like, well, I don't call myself a psychic or a medium, but I do see things, before they happen. I do see and talk to spirits at the bedside, so awake and not awake. And I have these visions. I don't ask for them, but they were given to me, which to me means they came from God, because I didn't know how I got that ability, and that was my only explanation. So I've had 40 some odd years of those visions of different things about to occur. It's usually been very, very close family members and a couple of friends. So that's my near-death experience.
Wow. I took a few notes here myself. If you don't mind, I'd like to maybe ask you a few kind of based on this here, and then we can kind of go on from there. But I'm guessing, like you said, when you had this experience, it probably, the way it sounds, it really, for lack of words, I don't want to say ignited your psyche, your psychic abilities, your spirituality. I mean, do you think there was a direct connection with that?
Yes, I definitely believe that that's what happened. And, I didn't know at first for a long while what was going on. Like I said, I just had to learn over time and try different things because I didn't want to have those nightmares every night, but I did. So once I started telling the people that were in them, then the nightmare would go away, and then eventually it would happen. So, that's the way it's been for me. I felt more spiritual than I did religious. There were just certain things I didn't believe anymore when I came back, and I went on a personal quest to different churches just to see how other people were believing in and worshiping. So that I could try to understand what was happening to me and why I was feeling the way I did, which I did. Now, there was another experience that happened on Earth, which to me was almost more remarkable because it happened on Earth, a message from God. So if you would like to hear about that, I will tell you that as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, well, I was being a normal person, in my mind, partying, drinking, smoking pot, doing all those things you weren't supposed to do. And I was having fun, me and my husband, and we were up to about 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know, around 3:30 or something like that, I heard a very, very loud voice say, "Get up, get out of bed, and go to this 8 o'clock service to this church I used to drive by every day on the way to work." I didn't know what kind of church it was. And it pushed me, like a giant hand pushed me out of the bed to the floor. I looked, my husband sound asleep, so it wasn't him. But I knew, just because of how loud it was and how forceful it was, that it was someone in heaven telling me, "You got to go there." Okay, I didn't know why. So I got it, and I hadn't been to church in several years since my near-death experience, maybe for Easter or Christmas a couple times, and that was it. So I got up and got ready, and I went to the church, and I walked in. I didn't know what, were they non-denominational or whatever they were. I sat down, I don't know, 3 or 4 rows on the left from the front. And when I sat down, they had big screens up front, all across the front. And then someone came up front and started leading some music, gospel music, and it was raising of the hands. Well, at first I felt very uncomfortable with that, because being raised Catholic, we didn't do that. So I just watched, and then I started following along. After a while, they were playing some hymns that I knew, and I held my hands up too, and I was okay with it. Then we sat down. And then a minister came out and he goes, normally right now I would do a sermon, but we have a visiting minister in the church today, and he has a very special message to give to someone here, so I'm going to invite him up. So he got up there and he goes, "My name is so-and-so, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. And as I look around the church, I see there's a young lady here that I have a message to give, and I would like for you to come up when I point you out." He says, "The lady in the blue flowered dress with the blonde hair." And well, I had on a blue flowered dress and blonde hair, but being the normal me, I turn around looking all around. Is he talking about somebody else or what? And then I turn back around and I point to me, and he goes, "Yes, please come up here." And I go, "Okay." So I go up there. He goes, "Do you know me?" I said, "I've never seen you before in my life." He goes, "Well, do you know why you're here today?" I go, "No, I've never been to this church before in my life, so this is all new to me. I know I got a message to get up and be here for the service, but I didn't know why." He goes, "Okay, well, this is your message. On the airplane ride here, God showed me your face. I saw the face of Jesus in the window that I was sitting near in the airplane, and he showed me your face and said to tell you this. All the troubles that you've had for the last 6 years, the kidnapping of your children twice, and all the things you've been through have been the work of the devil. So please keep your faith and still believe in me, and know that everything will be okay." I was in shock after that statement, because I didn't know anyone in that church, nor that pastor. Yeah. And it had to be from God, because he told me to go there, and then that was the message I got. So it was just shocking, so it's like, but to me, that was a bit more remarkable than going to heaven, because how often does that happen on earth? And that was just the way I felt about it.
Yeah, you don't hear that too often.
It helped me turn my life around again. It helped me turn my life around again to more spiritual, and trying to do the normal things, and not do the drinking, and not do the smoking the pot. The drinking I stopped, but the smoking of the pot went off and on for a while, until finally I said, I'm going to quit doing it, God. If I quit doing it, then good things are going to happen. And they started happening. So, that's what helped me change to the better person that I am.
That's encouraging too, because, there are so many people out there that just, everybody, no, I wouldn't say everybody, but most people are battling with some kind of something, so
exactly.
That's encouraging. Yeah. Because you've had like you said, you're growing up. I'm kind of like from the 70s and 80s myself, so I kind of grew up in that era myself. I'm almost 60.
Right.
And so, there's some really good times came out of that. But, like you have a lot of stuff these days. A lot of people are doing things that's really more harming, I guess, spiritually especially, but also physically as well, but more damaging than anything else,
Yes, and here's my thoughts on that right there. So, we all are the same. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. And I say that to everybody, and I don't put myself up on a pedestal because I've had a near-death experience. Maybe I have a little more insight, but we all have that ability to connect to our intuition, which I call your gut feeling. The things that block it: trauma, drama, negativity, hurt, and pain. So are we able to get through those things that I just stated? Sometimes, sometimes not. You can only grow up the way you were taught. You've been told many things about different things in life, and that is your normal, which is totally different from someone else's normal, and probably maybe not even a normal at all. But you don't know how to change that until you come across a positive person in your life who you can help model from how they act and how they respond to things, and to help you change your ways to a better outcome. It's all about our choices. I think that those choices that we each make can be our hell on earth, because we suffer the consequences of them if they're not on a good path. That's just my own personal opinion about it. Now, I did come across this one girl at an event where I was doing like a flea market type thing with my book. And she said, I heard you talk about a dark entity to somebody over there. Can I talk to you a minute in private? And I said, sure. Well, it turns out she was from a group in California. I don't know what they were called, the Bloods or something like that. I don't remember the name, but it was a bad gang of people that killed people. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I want to talk to you about the dark side a minute. She goes, because I did some really horrible things. I go, you don't have to tell me what they were. I'm understanding what you're saying. She goes, well, here's what happened to me. She says, I did those bad things, and all of a sudden one night in my dream, she called it a dream, she goes, Jesus took me on a train ride, and he was right beside me. We were going really, really fast, and all of a sudden he reaches down and picks me up by my feet, and he's holding me up in the air, and then it's like he dips me through the bottom of the train, and I'm in a fiery hell. And he says, you have a choice now, do the right thing. And he pulls her back up for better spiritual feelings. And I'm like, okay, that's the first hell I've ever heard of, because I've never, I never believed in it. I didn't know that really did happen to anybody. So that's my only experience with it. So I don't really know, well, then does it really exist or not? I'm like, I don't know. Just my thought.
Yeah, well said,
Right,
well said.
And a lot of times we hear these experiences that, and I have read many books on it as well, that your heaven, your hell, like you have said, is a state of mind. It's a consciousness which you create for yourself.
Right. And you can't blame yourself for it, because unfortunately you were taught that. It was the only thing you were taught, and then their parents were taught them that.
Right.
Those parents were taught that. It's like it goes all the way forward and backward until you come across a normal person or a more spiritual, happy person, and you try to learn how they became that way, because you don't know. You didn't have a good role model,
Right. And one thing I'm seeing from your experience too is that when you were in that cloud-like state, when you first transitioned over to that heavenly realm, when you were in bliss and happiness, that love you come back with, that love you experience there, that is what we like to say should be the religion of all of Earth. So,
yes,
the religion
true.
of love.
Yes, the religion of
that's
love.
What we have in our soul. We have Jesus in our soul, and then so once that happened, I finally understood the 3 in 1: Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. So the Son was made off of God, the Father, and the Holy Ghost is your spirit, which, when they were the nuns were trying to explain that in catechism classes, I just didn't get it until I had my near-death experience. When I saw my own body in a ghostly form and my body on the table, that's when I finally got it,
Right. Now, I do have a question, because we hear from different experiencers, whether you see whatever religion you were brought up in, say like yours was catechism, Christianity, you saw Jesus. What about like those that are like atheists or raised, knowing about Buddha or Muhammad or just the different deities? What is your experience with that it is one set way or many ways?
Well, what I've come to believe in my own mind, my own personal opinion, maybe there's been a few people who have said the same, that they believe that way too, is I believe like this. So we all have a happy place in our mind when we are highly stressed and we want to, I just need to lay down, sit down. I'm going to think about the beach, the garden, the mountains, fishing, gardening, whatever it is where your happy place is. I believe that when we die, when our bodies die and our soul goes to heaven, we go to that happy place in our mind. And also, I believe that whatever religion you are at that time, like let's say you're Hindu and there's a male or female goddess or god that you're believing in, and you're going to see that person. Maybe you're Mormon, you don't believe in Mother Mary, so you're not going to see a Mother Mary. Or you're atheist, okay, you don't believe in a Jesus at all. You believe in either a universal energy, which is the same universal energy, or you believe that, oh, Jesus is an alien. Okay, well, I have experience with that part because the spouse that let me die, he was atheist, and he believed that there was a creator who was an alien, and and so that's what he believed. Well, Jesus has to connect with everybody, no matter what religion they are. I believe that all of these different religions are all the same one person, just shown in a different way, and that when you pass, you're going to your happy place, and you will see your God. The person, even if it's an alien. Jesus is a superpower, so who's to say he's an alien or not? I don't know. I can't answer that one. So my belief, that's the way I believe.
Wow, that's amazing, and that's beautiful, by the way, because we do hear that so much. Now, one thing I'm gonna say is you keep saying go into the happy place. I used to tell my son this. Now, my son has transitioned, but I used to tell him all the time, find your happy place, son, find your happy place. So with you saying that, I'm getting the vibe of my son being present. So that is awesome.
Oh, it is so special. I'm so glad to hear that because it's true, really. I mean, you don't have any attachment to negativity, hurt, trauma, or drama when you pass, when your soul leaves your physical body. So therefore, you got to go somewhere. And how will you know what to look for or where to go if it isn't a happy place? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to, you're even if you're scared to death to die, okay, I'll put it this way. My mother passed July a year ago. She was raised strict Irish Catholic too. But the day before she passed, and we were there with her in her room, she held up her hand and wouldn't let go of any of us. She wanted to hold each person's hand. I had a strong feeling in my gut that it was because she was scared, even though, she was taught like I was, there's a hell. Oh, you sinned. You did some bad things, which we all do and we all have. So she thought in her mind, I guess, that she was going to go to hell. So I whispered in her ear, Mom, you're very strong. You've had a very good life and you're a very good person. You are going to heaven and I'm going to see you in heaven.
That's nice.
And that was my belief.
Speaking of going to heaven, relating back to your experience, you said that when you first transitioned over that there were 3 relatives there that you recognized. Did you know them in this lifetime?
Yes, I did. Those were my aunts.
Oh, okay, cool. Because, we hear that, some people see relatives that they didn't know in this lifetime, but they knew them as a relative in a past life. So that's cool that you actually knew those in this life.
Right. I didn't have an experience of seeing some I didn't ever meet or know before because in my mind, that answer came because I was only dead for 3 minutes. So 3 minutes felt like a lifetime to me, like months or years, but still it was only 3 minutes. So maybe there was a lot more I would have experienced had I have really, hey, it was your time, or let me see if I'm going to let you stay or go. Because I hear people say they're dead 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. And they're given a choice. Okay, this is going to be what you're going to experience if you go back or here. What do you want to do? Well, I didn't get that answer. I didn't get that choice. I was told, you have to go back. You're not done yet. You have things to do. So,
wow.
So that's how I experienced it.
Wow, okay. Quick question, Amy. Now, I was wondering, coming from the source yourself, who had the experience when you had shifted over into the actual OBE, the out of body experience, and
right.
And had the first experience about going to the light and then coming out, and then when you were hovering over the actual doctors or the room there,
right?
You said you actually they already had declared you dead. You actually heard the doctor actually say it, or was declaring it, or writing.
I heard the doctor say, time of death, and tapped his watch and looked at it and called the time of death. I cannot remember what time that was. I can tell you that, but
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's okay.
that's what I heard. And the nurses, I saw and heard everything.
Yeah. So did you feel anything from that? What was your response to that? Like, okay, you just, I mean, I'm sure you're aware that something's going on. You know what's going on, and I'm sure in the truest
Right.
sense, but did it affect you in any kind of way, or are you just like, oh, well, I'm dead, just moved on?
You don't have any negative hurt, trauma, drama feelings. It's all happiness. It's all, oh, I'm dead. Okay, well, I'm not dead. I'm still alive. When I look at myself, I might be a ghostly version of myself, but I'm still alive. I'm just not in that body anymore. There's no attachment to where you would feel anything negative, period. That's it.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so you were saying that you were seeing the ghostly version of yourself. Can you describe in a little more detail? Was it more like an energy? I mean, and
It was like a vaporized version of myself, an energy, yes. Like, it's still me. My mind was still very much the same. Nothing different about my mind at all, just my physical appearance. In other words, I looked exactly like I did on that table, but I was alive, and I looked exactly the same, and I felt alive. I didn't feel dead, and I didn't feel any hurt, regret, pain, or any of that when I exited my body. It's just what I felt.
A lot of people have that, like the concept of like judgment and the afterlife and heaven and hell, but you had mentioned a few times here in the actual podcast that there's no negativity, that nothing carries over. Would that mean there? I mean, how would you relate that heaven and hell and judgment, all that stuff, to like no negativity and carrying over? And I don't know if I'm even making any sense.
Kind of like a two-part question, I feel, that you're asking. So the first part would be, I was only there 3 minutes. So I've heard all the same things you've probably heard on near-death experiences for other people, where they had a judgment, they had a life review, they had this or they had that. I didn't have any of that because, and I'm guessing it was because the amount of time that I was there, where had I have been dead longer, I might have gone through all those things, but I didn't.
That makes sense,
and so people ask me that, that's what I tell them. I go, well, I don't know. If I would have been dead longer, maybe I would have went through all that. I have no idea. But I will tell you, I sinned growing up. I smoked pot, I drank, I did things, I treated people bad. I did things that I shouldn't have done, and those were sins to me. That's what I was taught. But I still went to heaven. So that was hard to, again, that was a confirmation of my belief on earth that I didn't believe in a hell until when I came back in my body and I started thinking about everything that happened, what I felt. I believe that, okay, it's those choices that we make, those bad things that we're doing and the consequences that come with them. I also believe in past life, coming back into your another body. When you're born again, I believe in that. So I also have heard, and I kind of believe in the part where, it's like a contract you do in heaven when you go into another body when you're reborn, because you want to experience, or you need to experience those things for your soul to be complete, whatever that is for God, because I don't know myself. I feel like I've been many places before. I'll walk into somewhere and I'm like, I've lived here before. Why do I have a memory of living here before? And I can never explain it, but I just know that I have it. So that's why I believe in reincarnation. That's reincarnation. Just my thought. And how do I feel after all that? Well, spiritual. I don't believe in the religious aspect of the churches anymore. But I do believe that they're very, very important, because that is how we are reached by our God, is that through different religions and different beliefs or non-beliefs. Just my thought on it.
I like how you said that. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, most definitely. It's kind of like you were talking about it, like a deja vu. So
right.
you would explain a deja vu as like something that you experienced from a past life, possibly?
Yes, exactly. And it's like, okay, I've been here before. It's many times that's happened to me over my lifespan, where I'm like, I'll go in somewhere to live and I'm like, I've been here before. Or even jobs. And I'm like, I feel like I've done this before, or with this person or somebody in this family or something. It's like, I just feel like it, but can I explain that? Nope, I sure cannot.
Right. That is amazing too, because I have deja vus a lot myself, and it's like, I've been here, I've done this, I can't really explain it. Sometimes it's like, even I dream something and then not know I've dreamed it, but when it happens, I'm like, I dreamed this, I knew this was going to happen. It's such a weird phenomenon.
Right, and what you just described is really a vision versus a dream. Here's my belief on that part. So what's the difference between a dream and a vision? It's simply this. When you wake up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, or for whatever reason, before your feet touch the floor, once your feet touch the floor, if you still have all the details of that dream in your mind, it's a vision. If you feet touch the floor and you're like, well, I was dreaming something scary or something heavy, but now I don't remember what it was, that's a dream. I believe that touching the floor, I was taught in a holistic college that touching the floor is grounding your soul to the earth part, not to the heavenly realm. So like meditating and touching trees and touching the ground with your bare feet, these are all grounding techniques. If you ground your technique by touching the floor when you get up to walk to get water or whatever, you still have that dream. That's a vision. You're being shown a vision, something that's going to happen. And as I feel, everybody has that ability, but what blocks it? Trauma, drama, negativity, hurt, and pain. Can you help those things? No. You can only try to look for a positive person to help you learn how to change your thought process regarding all those things that happen.
Right. We talk about that so much, about raising our vibration too, just to keep everything up and positive. But yeah, I totally agree with what you said about the dream versus the vision. Myself experiencing like dream visits from people who have transitioned over to that next life. So,
right, and I believe that you're really seeing them and talking to them. That is when they visit us, yes.
Yes, ma'am, exactly. Because like you said, when your feet hit the floor, it is vivid. Every detail is still in your thought process. It's not, like you said, a regular dream. It's just gone.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So moving beyond your NDE and changing into what you have become now, you are a hypnotherapist and life coach now.
Okay, so the near-death experience sent me on a journey to a college in Arizona, in Tempe, Arizona, where I was living. And it's mind, body, spirit based. Holistic is the word for it. I didn't even know what holistic meant until I heard about this place. Ironic, I had just finished my book and I was online on the computer looking for how am I going to market my book? Because then I found out, guess who markets the book? You do. You have to talk about it. You have to introduce it to people. So I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? So I looked up flea markets and like different events in the communities where they would have like a Western show or something like that. And you could, rent a booth and promote your book and what you do there. So I started looking for that. Well, every single page I went to on the computer, each different page, I saw this ad. It said Sweeha. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Okay. And then as it kept happening all day long, I said, well, this is ridiculous. I don't know why I keep seeing the Sweeha and what the hell is it? And I'm just speaking normally here. So
right, yeah.
I got disgusted, turned off the computer, sat down to watch TV, and I'm going to swear to God, the first commercial that was on that TV was Sweeha. And I'm like, okay, I get the message. Now I'm going to have to call and find out who and what they are. Well, Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, SWEHA, in Tempe, Arizona, was a mind, body, spirit, holistic college, nationally accredited. You could take massage therapy, hypnotherapy, life coaching, stress management, Ayurveda, essential oils, cranial massage for children. I mean, there were so many different classes and so many things. They even did ministry. And so I said, okay, I called them up and I asked what they taught, and they were talking about life coaching. And I go, I want to sign up for that. So I signed up for that and I did the program, and it helped me tremendously because not only did I learn how I was going to help that person, but I would be presented with someone who had the same experience I did in life, and helping them would help me. And that's how the life coaching started. From there, I decided, well, I love this. It helped me release a lot of negativity, hurt, and pain. So then I took hypnotherapy and different spiritual classes. And when I took spiritual classes, I said, every time we have a test in each class, and it would say what you were going to be in life, what your life purpose was. And I would get priest, or priestess, or sage, or mystic. And I don't want to be a priest. And my spiritual coaching teacher said, let me talk to you about that. I said, okay. He goes, what did you do all your life? I said, I was a dental assistant for 26 years. He goes, okay. And in dental assisting, didn't you have 3 or more rooms where there would be different assistants? And while the doctor was in one room, you would be in the room with another person? I said, yes. He goes, well, what were you doing when you were sitting there with the other person? I go, I would talk to them, get to know them, ask them their likes and dislikes, talk about what we were going to do, and try to make them feel more comfortable. He goes, you were ministering to them. You have been a minister for over 26 years already. And I went, oh, well, when I was raised Catholic and heard the word priest, I freaked out and didn't ever want to be one, because they did bad things to me in the church. So I didn't want to be a priest. He goes, well, no, you're a minister. And that is how I connected to it. Then I took ministry and I became a non-denominational ordained minister. So I do that as well. I do weddings, blessings, and spiritual coaching.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. So
okay.
You had mentioned earlier, like over 40 years of like visions and seeing and talking to spirits and things like that.
Right.
Reflecting back over that, that span in your life, are there or is there an experience or something that really, as far as the paranormal, concerned, that really sticks out in your mind over the past 40 years that you would maybe like to share with us, and why?
Oh, sure. So the first person who spoke to me in spirit form was my father-in-law, my children's dad's father. He was, I didn't know what was going on with him, but I guess he was, had a stroke or something. It was in a coma, or semi-coma, I would say. So he came to my bedside. I wasn't even all the way asleep. I was half asleep, half awake. And it's like I look up and I see this ghostly version of him beside my bed. And he's talking to me and I'm talking to him, but we're not using our lips. And he says, tell the children that I'm not going to get out of the hospital and go to the nursing home or rehab, whatever it was that he was supposed to go to after that. I'm not going to make it to that place. And I went, okay. So I went and told them, and they didn't believe me, of course. So then the next night he came back to me, the father-in-law, again, and this time he said, okay, now tomorrow I am going to have a stroke and I'm not going to be able to speak or communicate at all, but I will hear everything. You need to please go tell the kids, my kids, to come see me and say their goodbyes. So this time I went back and I told them again, and this time they did. They booked flights and they went there. And I even said to my son, I'm sorry, but he's going to pass away before 10 o'clock in the morning on such a date. He won't make it to the rehab or nursing home, wherever it was. And so my son called me, I think it was at 10:30 that same morning, that next day, and he goes, Mom, you were right. He passed away before 10 o'clock in the morning. He didn't make it out of the hospital. And he goes, I'm glad that we came. I said, well, that was the message that he gave me. So that really stood out to me, because after that, my step-unc, I'll call him step-unc, he was my uncle first, and later in life he became my stepdad too. So I was like, okay. He would call on the phone. He would call. He was passing. He was also semi-comatose in his house where he was with my mom and sister. And he would call up and there would be no one speaking. But my intuition told me it was him. And it kept happening at different hours of the night. And my husband even said, I think that's your step-unc that's calling and won't say anything. And I will, well, it's the only thing I can gather, because I said, you answer the phone. So he would answer it, and the same thing. It just kept happening until finally he came to me in spirit form, and he said, I just wanted to say I love you, and you're like my own child, even though you're not, and that I want you to please look out for the girls, your mother and sister and your kids. I went, okay. So those two things stood out to me because those actually happened on earth as well. Like I said, I was talking to their spirit. It's still very freaky when you're going through all this stuff, because like until you've had lots of years of it, it's like, what the hell did I just see? And why was I talking to him? And or was I dreaming that? Or what's going on? I mean, wow. I still have my normal thoughts, for all that until after so many years of it, I got used to it.
That is so amazing, with the communication with, your family throughout the years. Have you received messages from others that are not family or from angels that you were to give messages to others that were non-family? 2
people. So once I did a glamour shot, and when I was in there with the hairdresser getting ready for the glamour shot at that company, I sat in the chair and we're talking to each other, and she starts saying stuff about this or that in her life, and I started getting like somebody sticking in my mind all of a sudden and said to tell her if she wants to know. So she was talking about how she had this medical problem, but no one in her family did, and especially she was talking about her dad a lot. So I was like, okay, I told her about me, and I said, now I just got something for you, and this is rare for me because it's always been like family and no one else. Do you want to know what it is, no matter what it is? And she goes, yes, if that can explain what happened to me medically, what's going on with me medically, I want to know. I go, okay, well, I'm very sorry to tell you, but the man that you're calling dad is not your birth dad. You have a different birth dad. You haven't found him yet. You weren't told about him because your mother didn't want to tell you about him. And he has that medical problem, and that's where you got it from. She goes, oh my God, I felt that all along, but I just didn't know. Thank you so much for clearing that up. I'm like, okay. And then another young man, when I went to Hay House book writing seminar event in California, which is I did my book publishing with their subsidiary company called Balboa Press. I went to that to learn how to write the book, and I sat next to this young man, and he was describing his story of a vision he had of this little boy who grew up and bad things happened to him, and he was writing about that book and about what happened to him and everything. And I go, I just got a bunch of stuff in my mind all of a sudden that I don't know where it came from, but just to tell you that what's going on, do you want to know? It might be a little hurtful. And I was asking him questions like, do you all look the same or similar with traits in your family? Are there other kids who look different from a few other? And he goes, yes, to all those questions. And I go, okay, I just got something. Do you want to know, even if it may hurt your feelings, or it'll explain things to you, but it may hurt your feelings too? He goes, yes, tell me. I said, well, that little boy that you're writing the book about? I said, that little boy is you. Those things really did happen to you as a little boy, and you have a different parent, he also had a different dad. I said, you have a different dad. So he goes, wow, that makes totally sense, because he told me he was writing a fiction book. I go, so really, your fiction book that you're writing, it's really part fiction, part true, because it's you.
Wow.
So I said, you have an amazing book then, because I've never been told that or heard that before in my life. So it's like, your book is going to be really special. And so I got talking to him and met him, and I met a few other people in that room that had near-death experiences during that seminar. It was all people of spiritual nature, things that happened to them or things they saw. And through talking to them during the breaks, that's how I came to know that. I was told that.
That's cool.
That is really cool. Really cool. Okay, so carrying on with this communication, have you communications with directly with angels?
Only the 2 that I saw in heaven. So let me tell you what I experienced in my college that I went to. In my early 60s, I attended that Sweetheart College, and I had a 4-year program, which I did in about 3 years, because I did intensive studies on the weekends as well as weekday. So in that college, there were all kinds of people, all walks of life, different ages, sizes, colors, whatever, but they all had something happen to them similar or on that line, where they could see or talk to people anyway. I felt at home there since that happened to me. But in that college, I had bought a deck of cards in the bookstore that were angel cards. And they go, my teacher, I was doing a makeup class with her, and we're walking down the hall just talking from the bathroom. And she goes, what are we going to do your makeup class on today? And she's talking to me about it. And I said, I don't know. I said, what did you have in mind? She goes, well, I see that you had a deck of cards, angel cards over there by your desk. What do you do with those? I go, well, I don't know, but I was really called to buy them, and I wanted to read them and buy them, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them. She goes, well, here's what we're going to do. So today, your makeup class is going to be doing a card reading for the whole school live on Facebook. I go, okay, I don't know how to do that, but I guess I'll be shown, huh? She goes, oh, it'll come to you, I'm sure. So we start, and I say, we're live on Facebook. We're live in the whole college, classroom by classroom. And I got in my mind, okay, I tell her, you're going to be my client. You hold a thought, question, or concern in your mind that you want an answer to or help with, and you don't tell me what it is. And then I'm going to draw the cards. And when I started drawing the cards, I'm not looking at what they say, but I'm touching them. And when I touched them, I felt a very high vibration when I touched certain cards. And those are the 3 cards that I pull over. Sometimes I've pulled 4 or more cards out for a reading, but they were ones that just kind of flew out of my hand, and I felt that's part of the reading. And so then I would say, now I'm going to give you a reading. It's either going to be an answer to a question in your gut or a question in your ego, or a personal reading from heaven, the angels. And that's what I felt. Now, I said I was just told kind of in my mind how to say all that and do all that, because I didn't know nothing about it. This is what was being told to me as I was doing it. So I did it. And I told her she was going to meet someone soon, get married, and do a new career. And everything I told her came true later. And another person in the class that I did a reading with too, same thing happened. And so I said at the end, okay, now if you want to share that thought, concern, or question, you can, and I'll have more insight into it, because I will have gut feelings that go with it, and I'll interject those. And they said, sure. So I became a card reader, and every first Friday of every month after class, I would do 3 to 4 hours of card readings voluntarily at college, and I did it for tips. Now, I've been doing that since 2017, and I still do it. So those are my connection to the angels, in my opinion, the high vibrational feeling. Another class I did, and these are 2 remarkable experiences, because again, these were on earth. These weren't told to me in a dream or vision or heaven. So I did a class where it was stress management, and we were all seated in a circle in the room. There was probably about 15 of us or more. And the teacher would have a 8x10 cardboard, and she would write on it different words, like positive words. And she would tap on someone's shoulder, and they were to grab the card and hold it. And then the next person, when she tapped on their shoulder, would take the card. During the time they were holding the card and what it said on it, we were supposed to read the card, hold space, say nothing, do nothing, and just listen and watch. And so I did that. And so the first guy takes the card, and then she taps on the next girl's shoulder. And when she touched the card and he still had it in his hand, I had a bad experience in the class, bad or good, I don't know. But I mean, I felt every emotion that both of those people had ever felt in their entire life. I started hysterically crying. Wow. And going, oh my God. And then I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, why I said, I felt everything you 2 have ever felt. And I started telling them, and the teacher goes, well, you have just had a spiritual awakening, and that's what that is. You're very empathic. Yep. Empathic, where you feel the emotions of those people. And then that wasn't the only experience I had that night in that class. The other experience I had, the girl sitting to my right, she started saying something about hearing something. I go, I don't hear anything. She was whispering, and I go, shh, we're supposed to be quiet, and we're whispering. And she goes, well, I hear this. And then just a few minutes later, all of a sudden, I start hearing this very, very high-pitched sound in my left ear. It's only in my left ear. And mind you, I didn't know what it was, but it sounds to me like angels talking really high pitched, but they're giving me answers or telling me things, but I can't decipher what they're saying. I can't see, or I can't feel. I can feel it, that it's there, that it's happening, but I don't know what it is until afterwards. I get all these thoughts in my mind that I didn't have before. And that's my way of saying, okay, I'm connecting with the angels. And I went to doctors. It wasn't tendonitis. It wasn't tinnitus where they have the ringing in the ear. It was none of that. Medically, they said it was perfect. I go, well, okay, then it's spiritual, because everything's perfect. It's nothing physically. So that's how I still have it right now as I'm speaking to you. It's like constant. And when I'm doing spiritual readings or sessions with hypnotherapy or any of those things, ministry, I have it all the time. When I'm doing other things, I don't know whether my mind's going elsewhere and I'm thinking about other things. And sometimes it comes in and sometimes it doesn't. But that's just the way it is. And I don't have an explanation for that other than the teacher said, you also opened up, what did she call it? Clairvoyant is you see spirits. Clairsentient is you smell them. And I can't remember the name of the word for the one when you hear them.
Clairaudient?
Yeah, that's it. Clairaudient. That's it. Clairaudient.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
so she said you just opened up as a clairaudient and clairsentient, and you're very highly intuitive and empathic. But everyone in that room it's just that they had to release the trauma, drama, hurt, and negativity for theirs to open up more. Or theirs would be like, I would walk by this one girl down the hall and she would be studying, and I would say, oh, how you doing? What you taking here at the college? And she would tell me, she goes, I have to tell you something. I go, well, what's that? She goes, well, I'll just simply say it at night the best way I can. I go, okay. She goes, your Aunt Irene is standing right beside you on the right, and my Aunt Irene had passed that year earlier, and she's letting you know she loves you and she's with you. And I went, oh, my God. I mean, I didn't know the girl. How could she know my Aunt Irene?
Oh, wow.
So
isn't that something?
I came across people like that in that college all of the time, even negative ones, where one man entered the building and we were doing seminars where mine was hypnotherapy, and he was coming into my hypnotherapy class. He had a bunch of dark entities attached to him because all I felt was bad and evil when he was walking towards my way. And when I had the class, when we're sitting there in meditation, I felt his entities trying to get into my mind, so I had to block. Mm-hmm. And the teacher had her eyes open the whole time, and she goes, I have a question, Sherry, especially for you. Sherry or Cherie was my real name, so I got called both. Anyway, Amy Jamison is my pen name for my book, but she said, Sherry, I have to ask you something. I said, what's that? She goes, I felt like you weren't really in the room as well as the other ones here in class were. What was going on with you? And I go, well, I looked at the guy and I go, not to say anything hurtful or bad about you, but I just feel you have a lot of negative entities around you, and they were trying to attach to me. So my whole time, I'm sitting there thinking, block. I believe in heaven. No bad spirits are coming in. And I kept doing that. So it was true. And then I said, what do you do? And the teacher asked him, what do you do? He goes, well, I do have, he was a nightclub business, and he was into, what is it? I forget what it's called, sadomasochism or something like that. So yes, wow. He had all the dark stuff around him, but he wanted to check out what hypnotherapy was. So I was like, okay.
Wow.
So anytime he was around, I would just have to block and bless and say, I have a protective shield around me and you're not getting in. And that's what I do.
Right, yeah. And we hear that a lot with different people, that, you know, there are the dark energies and entities out there that you have to block. So,
right.
Yeah. And that's why we like to stress a lot, keep your vibration as high and positive as possible.
Yes. And then I hear people, you know, when I heard that over the years, when I first had my death experience, I didn't know what they were talking about. What the hell do you mean when you say that to me? Okay. So I say, how do you do that? And then I had very few people who could really answer that question because they didn't know exactly what I was asking. So my question was, if I have a vibration, what do I have to do to make it higher? What am I supposed to be doing? Well, I don't know, because I was raised under drugs and alcohol and abuse all my life. So I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So then I learned to explain to them the part about where your parents taught you these beliefs, and maybe they were in drugs and alcohol. That's all they knew. They didn't know different. Their parents were like that for them. They were in abuse. So you have to find that one happy person in your inner circle that you associate with who's going to be positive and try to model off of them. And then hypnotherapy, life coaching, spiritual coaching, ministry, those all, and card readings, actually, I use all of those together to help people learn how to get rid of those problems, how to take away the hurt and replace it with love, and how I do that in hypnotherapy sessions and life coaching sessions. So as part of the podcast, what I'm offering now is $10 card reading for 1 question answers, and I go into detail with it. And then I'm also doing hypnotherapy for $50, and I do package deals where other people can join in on your package if you want to. But I'm doing that as part of what I do. And I wrote a book about all these for over 40 years of incidences and visions that I've seen and had in the future. It's called Visions from Above, My Journey, My Destiny, by Amy Jamison, my pen name. And you can find it on balboapress.com, amazon.com, and well, it's left my mind what the other site is, but yes, you can buy that. Oh, Barnes and Noble, barnesandnoble.com.
Perfect. Quick question on the subject of hypnotherapy. Now, when you had went through your training and things like that to become the hypnotherapist, now when you're working with individuals and doing the inductions and trance and working with them like that, that includes its own techniques. Do you do, and have you worked with any self hypnosis before? More on yourself as far as kind of just for your own meditations type thing, or are you mostly specializing in like working with others?
I have done it like 2 times with me for myself. It didn't work out so great because then I'm analytical. And here's what I found with the analytical people. It's okay to be analytical, because an analytical person's going to go, well, why are you saying that? Why are you asking that? Why are you doing that? How do you do this? What's going on? And the whole time their brain is just going, wow, with all these questions. And so in my hypno sessions, I have to bring an imaginary friend into each session with that person where, okay, they don't know how to do this. You've done it before. Please help them learn with the deep breathing what they need to do. Please help them do this or that, so that they're concentrating on that person while I'm talking to their subconscious mind. You will not do anything you don't want to do. I don't make you do anything. I'm just talking to you like I'm speaking to both of you right now. And I just pull questions and answers out of you that will help me find your life purpose. That's my specialty, is helping you find your life purpose through hypnotherapy or card reading. Lately, I've been getting it all through card reading mostly. Before, years ago, I used to have to do hypnotherapy to come up with it. It just takes about an hour and a half first session to do that. So that is what I do.
That's good to know, too.
That's very good to know and very interesting, yeah.
So do you have a website by any chance, Amy? Yeah.
No, actually, I used to have a website, but I'm going to tell you that life happens. I'm normal as anybody else, so bad things happen around me, and as a result, financially, I can't do it anymore. So I have my personal email. My given name is Sherry or Cherie Lee, and it's spelled Cherie, last name Lee, Lee. And so my email is where you contact me at, and that's my name backwards, LeeCherie66@gmail.com. And you can text me at 602-727-9797. I'm in Central Standard Time in Texas, but I kept an old Arizona phone number. And if you text me or contact me by email and leave your phone number, I can connect with you for the $10 card readings and the $50 hypnotherapy sessions. And I do speak to you for at least an hour, so it does take time. And I do work Monday, Wednesday, Friday right now as a care provider for an elderly person, so I do it in my spare time. As well as that, unfortunately, I just lost my great-granddaughter, my only great-grandchild, March 30th. She was 2 months and 5 days old and just had a collapsed lung in her sleep and went very quickly. So I'm still grieving over that. And also, I'm recently getting tested for and diagnosed for some form of a blood disease or benign lesions in my lungs. So I'm undergoing all that too. But the way that works is when you contact me, you help me like I help you. And that's the way I like it to be.
Wow. Nice. And again, that email address was Lee Cherie, LeeCherie 66, correct?
Correct, at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. And the phone number, again, was 602-727-9797?
That's correct. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. No worries. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. I'm looking at the clock on the wall, and we're good with time right now, but we're going to go ahead and maybe, if you don't mind, we'll start closing in and maybe ask you kind of a couple of maybe closing questions, and we wrap up with that. How's that sound? Is that okay with you?
Sounds great, because I know I've dominated a lot of your show here. So
that's what it's all
That's what
about.
It's about, yeah.
All kind of words of wisdom. I can't wait to really get back and listen to this, because it's a different experience, like when we actually, record and produce them. And then when you go back and actually listen to them, it's a whole different experience. You get to learn so much more, actually, as well. So we get the benefit of actually listening to them firsthand and going back and getting to listen to it during editing and going back and listen to it when it's over. So by the time we get through with one episode, it's just so much knowledge. And we thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us, So my question, Amy, would be any words of wisdom, from you, or any advice, anything like for our listeners, when it comes to the great mystery of life and death, anything you'd like to maybe just share with those who are out there?
Yes, it's okay to be frightened. It's okay to go through all those terrible experiences that you don't want to, because in the end, we are going to be alive up in heaven, and you will connect one way or another, even on your deathbed. It's okay. You try to find that positive person in your atmosphere to model off of, or go on and listen to YouTube on all these different programs for near-death and spiritual experiences. One thing I want to interject on that. There is one particular site on there. I don't want to degrade them or say anything bad about them on YouTube, but that one site, I do know that they don't let you speak your story. They take your story and they narrate it in a scary tone, a scary voice tone. And then it's like,
Ooh.
oh my God, Jesus showed me this is going to happen. The world's going to end, blah, 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 blah. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe it's true. Of course, I didn't experience it. They did. Maybe they did happen, but I don't like the fact that it's glorified into the bad part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're putting it up there like, oh, dear God, you're being almost like the religion I grew up in, where you're saying, oh, you're going to go to hell. Oh, the world's going to end. Bad stuff's going to happen. We don't need to hear that. Stuff happens all the time on earth. We don't need to hear about, in the afterlife. That's why I'm not religious anymore. I'm more spiritual, because I don't want to go to church and be made to feel like, well, damn, I'm just a sinner all the time. I don't do anything right, because that's not true. You're human, and it's the free will choices you're making that cause things to happen, and things just happen that we don't plan on. We can't necessarily help that. You can just do the best that you can. The best thing I can tell you out of the whole experience for me was simply this. Let's say you and I are related, mother-daughter or whatever, and you have a horrible fight with me the night before I die, and you say some pretty horrible, wicked things, and then you don't get to say, oh my God, I'm sorry, I was just really stressed or angry or whatever. I hope you can forgive me. You don't get to say that. Well, guess what? When that person's spirit leaves the body, there is none of that attachment. So that I would look at you and go, oh, I love you and everything's great. And we take nothing with us but happiness. But unfortunately, the people left behind on earth, they have all the sorrow, pain, and hurt. So please know that person who has passed or is passing has nothing but love. They don't look down at you from heaven and go, oh, you did that to me. I don't like you. I'm mad. There is none of that. So you don't have to worry about that. You just have to learn the best way you can how to get rid of those issues in your life on earth and live your life. That's what it's all about. It's all about love and connection and trying to deal with the grief. It's not easy. I'm human. I'm in grief right now too. So, we do what we can, and that's the only thing we can do. That's the best thing I can say.
Right, yeah. And that's very well, beautifully said, by the way. And I have to agree with you on it. Like, from what I have learned from listening to and interviewing these NDEers, is the change that it's made in my life has been from my belief system about the religious dogmas and indoctrinations that released me from fear. I now live in a more positive and loving way than I did when I was a part of the religious fractions. So,
right.
We have to realize too that life never ends, and there's those out there that saying, oh, well, what about the things that's going to happen? The world's going to end. Life continues on.
That's right. Well, it may very well end, and probably someday it will. But, I can remember back before the year 2000 that we're all supposed to just end at that point, because in 2000, the computer and clocks weren't going to know how to switch over to the year 2000, and that didn't happen.
Right.
The cults, I can't remember his name, but there was a cult guy who was saying that the alien ship, which is Jesus' ship, is coming down for all of us. And if you're going to be at this certain place on certain time, you're going to go there. If not, you're going to hell. So you're going to hear all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the one particular program I'm talking about on YouTube that glorifies like a scary, it's like a Alfred Hitchcock type thing.
Right.
That's going to happen. And it's like, that's not the way it's supposed to be presented. It's not supposed to be presented like that. I mean, all the things I saw were negative, scary, hurtful things, but I present them with love as much as I can to say, I believe that by me telling you that it's going to happen, it's okay, because I see you're okay in the end, and are you going to experience it just like I did? No, it's like a beginning, middle, and end movie trailer for me, and for you it's a different detailed version of it, but it does happen. And whether you accept it or not, that's up to you. You can only do what you were taught to believe or not. I've been called crazy all my life and still do. My sister, the biggest person in my book, and I can't put names, so she would say, well, that's not going to happen. You're not God. You don't know. And then it would happen, and she'd call me back up, and she goes, well, it happened, but it didn't happen like you said, so you're still crazy. And I go, did you hear what you just said to me? It happened like I said it was going to happen, and it happened, but I'm crazy because it didn't happen like you said it happened.
Wow. Right.
So it doesn't compute either way.
Wow. I've got a final question for you.
Okay.
Miss Amy, is this 23-year-old young lady that had this near-death experience, okay, and looking back, way back then when you had that experience and all through these years, how has it affected your life, or how has it changed your life for the better, I guess? I'm guessing for the better, it sounds like it, compared maybe like the way things were along the way or something, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so it changed my life dramatically, and that is because I grew up with an alcoholic, abusive stepfather who wasn't my dad. I found out in my late 50s who my dad was, so it wasn't him. And then my mother, who supposedly we had up on a pedestal, we love, of course, she's our mother, but everything she told me was a lie. So it's like, I grew up in that horrible atmosphere of drugs and alcohol and abuse. They fought each other with objects every night. It was horrible to witness. It was horrible growing up. But I had many good experiences through high school and my college and graduate school and all this stuff. afterwards. I'm glad that happened to me, even though it was scary as hell when it happened to me with my near-death experience, because I didn't even know why it happened. I still ask myself at times, well, why me? Well, I don't know. I don't have that answer. Other people say the same thing. We don't know. We couldn't tell you. We don't have a clue. Well, I still get told, oh, you're of the dark side. Oh, you're of the devil. You're speaking dark stuff. The devil, God doesn't like that. And I go, where do you think I got it from? How did I get that ability? Where did it come from? Well, some people will still say the dark side. It's the devil. I go, well, no, I can't worship God and be a minister if it's of the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always going to be those doubters and those that are heavily, into their church that say that this is from, the dark side.
Yeah.
But the messages that I have seen from so many different experiencers is so positive, so loving. How can that be from the dark side? I don't understand that.
Well, you got to understand that different religions and different beliefs teach their children different things, and it is not their fault as young kids or growing up as adults. It's not their fault that they believe the way they do. That's all they know. That's their normal. Okay, so you really can't blame them. You have to forgive them and all the relatives past them and before them, because they don't know any different. And before this happened to me, I called all psychics and mediums nuts. And now I can't do that because it happened to me. So,
right. Experience. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So one thing we hear a lot of, and I'm kind of sensing this from you as well, is just raising the consciousness, the conscious level of, about we are all one, that it should be about love. What would you have to say about that?
I would say, well, again, the problem is the hurt, negativity, trauma, and drama that we all experience in our lifetime. And until we learn a different way of thinking and doing things, then we're still going to have that with us as we go along through our life. We can only hope to do the best we can with it. That's why I do the sessions that I do with people with card reading and hypnotherapy, so that I can help as many people as I can to learn how themselves to release it. And hypnotherapy is good at that as well. So, you can take away a lot of things and replace it with happy memories in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind's your memory box. It holds everything that's ever happened to you and how you respond to it. So you have to kind of reprogram those thoughts that you were taught growing up to a better mode to deal with it better.
Yes,
Right. That makes sense. Well said.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and information.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have definitely enjoyed this, and we would love to possibly have you back on at another time to share more of your experiences.
Oh, well, I have those, that's for sure.
Beautiful. That sounds wonderful. Well, again, I'd like to share your email with everyone if you don't mind. It's it's Lee Cherie, LeeCherie 66 @gmail.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and they can reach you there. And also your number, 602-727-9797.
That's correct. And if I don't pick up your email or your message and it takes a while, it may be because I've gotten like 30, 40 people that I'm working in between my work schedule as well. And my doctor's visit. So I will get to you. Just try to be patient. That's, I will get to you. I will not forget you. So.
Right. And I want to throw in your book title as well, because this is something that I would like to read myself. I love reading. I always have my nose in a book. But the book title is Visions from Above, My Journey, My Destiny by Amy Jamison.
I can't wait
That's
to read
correct.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Looking forward to reading it myself. Absolutely. We're book readers here. We love reading. So
love
we'll
to learn.
Yeah.
Oh, I would appreciate your reviews once you're done. That would be great. On Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, you can do a review on there. You can also do a review on my email address. Just even if it's just a sentence, a thought, a paragraph, whatever you think, even if you don't think positive about it, whatever you think about it, just be honest, and I appreciate those.
Yes,
Beautiful,
most definitely.
Sam. Perfect. Well, Amy, thank you so much for coming out on the NDE World Podcast and we love you. We thank you so much for your time and information, and we send you peace and blessings to you. And until we either meet again or talk again, any final comments you'd like to pretty much share with anyone, or we're good, or Daphne, or anything there? Or...
I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of both of you, and I appreciate you bringing me on your program. And for all the people who are listening, hang in there. God's real. Heaven's real. You know that movie and that little boy that had that story, Heaven is Real, and his dad was a pastor?
Yes,
well, it's real, all right. So you will experience it at some point in your life, and don't be so fearful of all the theoretical issues on the websites that have the scary versions of near-death experiences, because I just don't think that's the good thing to do right there. You don't scare people into it. You just talk normal. Scaring them is only going to scare them away and make them worse. So just my thoughts.
Very well said. Very well said. And good words to really to share with everyone to really think about it, so... Perfect. Well, Miss Amy, thank you so much, love. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on today, and I love you guys too. And let's keep spreading the love.
That
yes,
sounds good.
Most definitely. Yes,
Absolutely.
we love you so much and appreciate you. And
thank you so much, and you have a great weekend. Okay.
You
as well, Miss Amy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and we are back. All right. Thank you, Miss Amy Jamison. Daphne, any comments? I mean, that was really wonderful experiences that she's shared with us and the listeners. And thank you, Miss Amy, so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Amy. We loved your story, and you have so much to share with everyone. The lessons in this. I love the where she realizes the consciousness of everything, and she says, "I'm dead, but I'm alive."
Yeah, I like how she said that. Well, let's do this. Let's kind of touch base, maybe some of the highlights. Let's back up a little bit because she has so much to share. Starting with the NDE, the near-death experience at the age of 23.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say really sticks out in your mind? I mean, they were all really wonderful points that really sticks out. Any highlights you'd like to touch on?
The love that is extreme bliss and happiness from the other side that we hear from so many experiencers.
I love that. Yeah, no
Yes.
negativity. I like how she said
Yeah.
that gets left behind. It's the happy place.
Right. And I like the way she said it too, is where she was saying that, if you had a fight or anything with someone, you didn't say, "Oh, well, I'm mad at you for this or that." That negativity doesn't carry over. It's all, oh, I see that person. I love that person.
Yeah.
It's that love that we should be feeling on this side of the
regular basis. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So that's definitely that's the main thing I got out of the overall experience is just that love,
Yeah.
And then she said she actually was able to experience a good bit of it, but was actually had to come back. She said that she wasn't able to stay. That she had to come back to
right. And in her coming back, she her spiritual gifts were awakened.
Yeah.
And that is something that I'm realizing from listening to the different accounts, from interviews, is that we all have these abilities. We all have these abilities, and some of us fine-tune it, some of us are aware of it, some of us are not aware of it. So, I mean, there's just a awakening that needs to happen, and that's what's happened with these experiencers, is something has been awakened in them for them to share their gifts with others. Like she said, she has become a messenger.
Yeah.
She speaks with the spirits of family and others. So even communication with angels.
Over 40 years of these experiences. Right. Think about that.
And think about how out of the norm this would be, how it would be kind of scary and everything at first until you adjust to, okay, this is what's happening, instead of the shock of it never having happened before, what it would be like. So she adjusted to it, and that's something that we hear a lot of people do. They do adjust to that, the shock.
Yeah, after a while, it probably just becomes like second nature, I'm sure, you know.
I mean, especially her dealing with the dark entity that she had to deal with. You know, what I have heard a lot of too is just
send them to the light.
Exactly. Send them to the light. You don't allow it in your presence. You block it. It can't come.
Yeah, it sounds like she's had some experiences with that as well, having to
yes, most
block
definitely.
energies, even like in her hypnotherapy class with a guy coming in and, you know, just the energy. I mean,
and
guys, believe me, that people do carry energies.
The
they do.
the lower vibrations. And that's what we have to guard ourselves against is those lower vibrations. And why we say on this podcast all the time is keep your vibration high. Keep it high so that you don't have those dark and negative forces trying to invade your space.
That'll get you thinking, won't it?
Yeah.
It really will. Well, I definitely would love to put a plug in for Amy if she doesn't mind. Definitely for her, you know, her book for sure, that you can find on, you know, some of your major platforms like Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and things like that. So we'll let Daphne share a little bit about the book here in a moment, and but I also want to let you guys know that you can contact Amy at leecherie66@gmail.com, and I'll spell that for you. It's LEECHERIE 66@gmail.com, and her number is 602-727-9797, and she offers hypnotherapy sessions and things like that.
Card readings.
Card readings, and so any of you guys that are interested in that, definitely contact her. And she says just leave a message, and you know she's got a pretty busy schedule, so she'll definitely get back with you when she can.
Mm-hmm. And the book, I'm so looking forward to getting this. I love reading. You know me, I always got my nose in a book.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to get this book, Visions from Above, My Journey, My Destiny, because she tells in it the many different experiences that she has experienced throughout the last 40 years. So.
Yeah, get it.
I will, most definitely.
Absolutely.
And leave a review for you, Miss Amy.
Absolutely. And thank you again so much, Amy, for your for sharing your story with us and your time and your information. You're a beautiful soul. We love you so much and appreciate your time. And you're welcome anytime. You know, we'd love to have you back. And like I said, you've got so much knowledge to share with us. So the invitation is there, love. And Daphne, any final comments before we wrap things up?
Love, 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 love. Always love, because that's what means the most in this life. You know, let people be who they are, but love them.
There you go. You've heard it directly from Daphne herself. It's all about love, guys. It's on that note, we love you all so much. May peace be with you all until next time.
Y'all let your light shine.
Hello, you beautiful souls. Don't forget to visit the website, NDE.world. That is
NDE.world.